Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about the 7 major reasons why your application to study abroad might be getting rejected. The reasons which I'm going to talk about today are mostly applicable for PhD applicants, but they can also be applied to students who are applying for master's position in Europe or in US. So the number one reason is that you are not clear why you want to get a PhD. So when you are making your statement, personal statement, or the SOP or the motivation letter, you have to make sure that you indicate why you want to get a PhD. Your reasons should be clear. If you are mentioning a topic, you have to show interest in the topic, you have to show your passion in the topic. So sometimes it could be the case that you're talking about your future career aspirations, but those career aspirations, to reach those goals, you do not actually require a PhD. You're doing PhD for a wrong reason. So first get clear in your head why you want to get a PhD, because when you are writing your documents, these SOP, motivation letter, cover letter, your intent of writing is clearly visible to the recruiter who is reading your documents. So you need to make sure that your point gets through to the reader. It could be also because you're focusing on wrong things which does not matter that much. For example, you want to live in abroad, you want to earn money. That's all good reasons, that the reason that you are maybe thinking about, but don't write them in your personal statement or SOP. Come up with some good reason, come up with some more scientifically based reason, like passionate reason about your research. Don't write like I want to earn more money or I want to live in this so and so location. Don't write these things. So from your personal statement and your SOP, the recruiter should be clearly able to understand what you want to do, and you understand what you're going to do. You are passionate about your research because PhD is a long program. In US it may last to 5-6 years. In European countries it's generally 3 to 4 years. But still it's a long program, at the end of which you have to generate results and submit a document, a thesis. So the supervisor or the recruiter should be convinced that you can sustain the whole journey and you would not give up in between. So these are most important points that you have to clarify through your personal statement. And through your documents, you have to be very specific about what you want to do. Do not go for a broad field. Choose a specific field that you are really interested to work on. Be specific in your documents. Coming to the number 2 reason, you are not actually fit for the program. So before starting your application, make sure that you actually fit into the PhD program. Generally, when there is an advertisement for a program of PhD applications, that positions are open, they would also list which faculties are involved, which faculties are taking students as a PhD under them, and what are the topics. So go and do some research. If you do not match in that program, if your work experience and your what you want to work on does not fit, then do not apply to those programs. You will most likely get rejections. Also, do not send the same document everywhere. The supervisors, they would know this for sure by reading your documents. If you are just copy pasting the same document and making a generic format and sending it everywhere, this generally does not work. Now when you are making these documents, be specific. Now it's not really easy, but the trick is that there will be a lot of different things when you apply from one department to another or one university to another. But what you need to make sure that there is some kind of specific tailored information in your application that is specific to the department. Maybe mention a professor whose papers you came across, you liked his work and you want to work with him, and you feel that your research interest really aligns up with that professor. These kinds of details are really important. Now reason number 3 is directly followed by the reason number 2 that I gave you last time, is that there is no advisor fit. Make sure whenever you are applying, there is at least one faculty in the department who will be actually able to supervise you, preferably more than one, because when you join the PhD, there is a PhD or a doctoral committee that consists of your supervisor and 2 other mentors, or sometimes 3. This could vary depending on the university. But in these mentors, they should also be somehow related to your field. That's how they will be able to mentor you throughout your PhD program. So don't start applications anywhere, do some research about faculties, what the students working in their lab, what kind of research work is getting conducted. Make sure it is the latest information, and make sure that the faculty is currently working in the department. So these things you have to make yourself updated, and then start your applications. So when you're writing your SOP or personal statement, make these small connections and build up a story. So if you mention some faculty by name who is also working in the department, that really improves your credibility. That shows the recruiter that yes, you have done your research on your own end, and you know what you are applying, you know what you want to get out of your PhD. Reason number 4. This is a very important reason, and probably the most important in the whole list. Lack of research experience. My master's was from an Indian institute, and in India, the research experience, many students, they really lack. So they would mostly focus on the curriculum, the coursework, and they would really miss out on doing some actual lab work, solving problems, reading out research papers, identifying research gaps. This type of practice is somehow missing from the research curriculum during their bachelor's degree and their master's degree. So you need to fill out these gaps. You need to have a good research experience in order to start your applications and get selections. Otherwise, you will get rejected. Now, research experience does not necessarily mean that you have to be published, meaning you have publications. It's not a compulsory thing, but if you have it, then for sure it will give you a huge advantage. Flaunt it, like write about it, talk about it, what you learned, what was your motivation for it, and what topic you wrote. So the students who do not have any publication, do not get discouraged. It's actually the 75% of the case when students does not have publication, but they have very strong research experience. They have worked on projects. Maybe some of the projects are already in the writing phase, and they will be communicated soon, and so on. So write about the projects, the details, why you are excited about them, and in future what you want to get out of your PhD, how you plan to work on those projects, and so on. So these kind of topics, if you cover in your SOP, the recruiters would really be inclined to not miss out your application. Reason number 5, weak letters of recommendation. See, the last point, research experience and letters of recommendation, are somehow directly connected. If you have a good research experience, you worked under some professor or some group leader or some scientist. If you directly worked under them, then they will be able to write about you very good recommendation letters. So do not get recommendation letters with some professor with whom they have a very high position. They might be dean or HOD, head of department, but they do not directly know you. Do not think that getting a recommendation letter from someone with a high post would really boost up your chances. What would boost up is that person, what they are writing, makes direct connection, like you have directly worked with them, right? So that really makes the impact. So try to get a recommendation letter from a professor with whom you have actually worked. For US, make at least 3 letter of recommendations, sometimes 4 or 5 letters of recommendation. For Germany or other European countries, 2 to 3 LORs are more than enough. But try to get them from different professors, maybe one from your master's thesis, one from your coursework, one from your bachelor's. But if you have 1 or 2 recommendation letters from the professors with whom you have really worked, then that would really boost your application. Okay, so reason number 6, low grades and low scores. If you do not have a good overall CGPA in your master's or your bachelor's, that might impact your PhD application. Now, this could be that you had a bad semester, right? There was some problem in your personal life that caused that you were not able to focus on your studies, and your 1 or 2 subjects you had a bad CGPA, and that really affected your overall CGPA at the end of the coursework. If that is the case, then the recruiters would see it. You can also mention it in your SOP. Also, for example, you can use the LORs, the letters of recommendation, to cover this. For example, you are getting a letter of recommendation from a professor who taught you through that bad semester in which you are having some bad marks, like not so good scores, right? They can write something like this, that the student was struggling throughout the course, but in the next semester, in the following semester, he really pulled it together and he improved his scores, or she improved her scores significantly. So this could be covered in the LORs also. So keep that in mind while choosing the professors to get the LORs. For example, you have not very high CGPA overall for varying reasons and you have no explanation for it, but after that you worked in research labs and gained very good research experience. So that would also boost your application. Remember, in the PhD applications in abroad, especially US and European countries, one applicant is not defined by a single metric or a single number. It's more like a holistic view of the whole application, the whole research career and the educational background. Good marks generally indicate good work ethic and strong subject knowledge, and this really helps out. The final point, seventh reason why applications get rejected is that you make mistakes in your application. This is something completely your fault. You cannot blame anyone. Make sure you provide all the documents in the correct format, in the proper mentioned word limit that is asked in the application. There are many applications where they would ask you to write an SOP within 200 words, but you sent a generic document that you had and then just copy pasted on the portal that is 400 words. Check your documents before sending. Due to these silly mistakes, minor mistakes, many applications do not even get to the screening stage. They get rejected. So understand how your application is being processed. For example, you applied to a university which is very famous and they are receiving hundreds of applications. Now there is not a person sitting at the other end checking your application for all the requirements. Your application goes through a software that screens for the basic requirements mentioned in the application advertisement. If your application does not pass that criteria, then you are already rejected. So do not make mistakes in your application. Do not miss the deadline. Send your application at least 2-3 days before the application deadline, because at the deadline the server could crash, you could lose internet, several things can go wrong. So always make sure to send the application before time. For example, this happened recently. So there was a student who applied to a university, and in his application he by mistake entered the wrong professor name to whom he was sending the email, and the wrong university name in the first line. Dear Professor so and so, I'm writing to you to show my interest to join the PhD program in the university of this, and it was wrong. Now it's not a huge mistake, but it really shows the recruiter or the professor that you are not paying attention to the details, and that could reflect on you negatively. Make sure you do not do such mistakes. The last point is really a bonus point. I was saving it for the end. The last reason could be just bad timing. So you cannot really do anything about it. For example, there is a position for which you could have gotten selected last year but not this year. It could really depend on the faculty capacity. For example, he does not have sufficient funds, or he has already taken too many PhD students. There is some kind of departmental pressure. There can be hundreds of things. There could be also, for example, there is just one spot and your profile is actually better than the other competing student or the other candidate. The other student has some kind of a research experience or a research interest which is interesting for the faculty for a particular grant that just got accepted. So, and that other student is more suitable than you to work on that particular research grant or that research project. So this could be a reason. So the best way to deal with such roadblocks is to just apply in as many places as possible. Make your applications diverse. Don't put all your eggs into the same basket. This saying is very true for when you are applying your PhD applications. So these are basically factors beyond your control. You cannot do anything about it. It's not your fault. That's all the points that I had to talk about, and I wish you all the best for your own applications, and you will surely land a PhD position or a master's position or whatever position you are aiming for. If you liked the video, do consider hitting that red button, subscribe to the channel, share the video with others who are in the same situation and need some help. Mention in the comment section if you have some questions. I will reply to them. That's it for now. I'll see you guys next time. Till then, keep learning and help out each other. Bye.